What if I told you that right now, on this very day in April 2020, the entire world economy is hanging by a thread because of a single narrow stretch of water in the Middle East, and one man's ultimatum could either save it or push us all into the biggest energy crisis in modern history? Welcome to the Strait of Hormuz crisis, the most dangerous geopolitical flashpoint on the planet today, and the number one story that millions of people across America, Europe, Asia, and beyond are desperately searching for answers about. I'm your host and senior geopolitical analyst, and in the next few minutes, I'm going to break down exactly what is happening between the United States and Iran, why it escalated so dramatically, what it means for your gas prices, your groceries, your investments, and the future of global stability, and most importantly, what could happen next in the coming hours and days. Stay with me because this is not just another Middle East conflict. This is a crisis that is already reshaping the world order in real time. Let us start with the cold, hard facts that brought us here. On February 28, 2020, the United States and Israel launched coordinated military strikes under Operation Epic Fury against Iranian nuclear sites, military bases, and leadership targets. In a matter of hours, the supreme leader Ali Khamenei was killed. Iran's air defenses were crippled, and what began as a targeted operation quickly spiraled into full-scale war. Iran's response was swift and devastating. They closed the Strait of Hormuz, the narrow waterway through which 20% of the world's entire oil supply passes every single day. They laid mines, attacked merchant ships, and effectively turned one of the most vital energy choke points on Earth into a war zone. Since then, at least 24 commercial vessels have been hit or nearly missed. Global oil prices have surged past $110 a barrel, and the ripple effects have hit every corner of the planet, from European factories shutting down to Asian economies facing fuel shortages. Fast forward to today, April 7th, 2020, and President Donald Trump has issued a crystal-clear ultimatum that expires in just hours. He has warned Iran in no uncertain terms: open the Strait of Hormuz completely and immediately, or face the full might of American military power targeting your power plants, your bridges, and your critical infrastructure. In his own words, he has said the entire country of Iran could be taken out in one night, and that night might be tonight. He has even used language that shocked the international community, telling Iran to open the damn strait or face hell itself. This is not empty rhetoric. American forces are already positioned, satellite imagery shows increased activity around Iranian energy targets, and the world is holding its breath. Iran, for its part, has rejected any quick ceasefire, insisting on ironclad guarantees against future attacks, and has vowed that any strike on their power grid will trigger retaliation against American and Israeli assets worldwide, including economic centers and energy facilities far beyond the region. Now let us analyze why this matters so much to every single person watching this video, no matter where you live. The Strait of Hormuz is not just a geographic feature, it is the artery of the global energy system. 20% of the world's oil, plus huge amounts of liquefied natural gas, flow through it daily. When that flow stops, everything downstream collapses. Oil prices have already spiked dramatically, pushing gasoline prices in the United States above $4 a gallon in many states. In Europe, energy costs are
skyrocketing again just when countries thought they had recovered from previous crises. In Asia, particularly India and China, factories are slowing down, shipping costs are rising, and food inflation is accelerating because fertilizer prices, which depend on energy, are going through the roof. This is not abstract economics. This is your daily commute getting more expensive, your grocery bill climbing, your pension fund losing value if you are invested in global markets, and potentially even blackouts or supply chain breakdowns if the crisis drags on for weeks. From a strategic perspective, this crisis reveals deeper truths about power in the 21st century. The United States under President Trump is demonstrating a return to aggressive unilateralism, using military force and economic leverage to enforce what it sees as vital national interests, namely free and open sea
lanes for energy. Iran, on the other hand, is playing a high-stakes game of asymmetric warfare, betting that choking the world's oil supply will force the international community to pressure Washington into a deal. Both sides are calculating risks, but the margin for error is razor thin. If Trump carries out his threats tonight, we could see a rapid escalation that draws in more actors, potentially destabilizing the entire Gulf region and sending oil prices toward $150 or higher. If a last-minute deal is reached and the strait reopens, we might see a temporary relief rally in markets. But the underlying tensions and the damage already done to Iran's infrastructure will keep the region volatile for years to come. Looking ahead, there are three realistic scenarios worth considering carefully. First, the most optimistic one. Intense back-channel negotiations succeed at the 11th hour. Iran agrees to reopen the strait under international monitoring and a fragile ceasefire takes hold. Markets would breathe a sigh of relief, but trust between the parties would remain shattered. Second, the most dangerous one, Trump follows through on strikes against power plants and bridges, Iran retaliates with missile attacks or cyber operations, and the conflict expands to include proxy forces in Lebanon, Yemen, and beyond, pushing the region into a broader war with unpredictable global consequences. Third, a middle path where limited additional strikes occur but both sides step back from the brink, leading to prolonged low-level conflict and a new normal of higher energy prices and heightened geopolitical risk for the rest of 2026 and beyond. As a geopolitical expert who has followed Middle East conflicts for decades, I can tell you this, the world has not seen a supply shock of this magnitude since the 1970s oil crises, and the difference today is that we are far more interconnected and far more dependent on just-in-time energy flows. The decisions being made in the next few hours in Washington and Tehran will not only determine the immediate fate of millions of barrels of oil, they will shape the global economy, international alliances, and even the future of nuclear proliferation talks for the next decade. Whether you are an investor watching your portfolio, a family worried about rising costs, or simply a citizen trying to understand why the news feels so heavy lately, this crisis is personal because it touches every part of modern life.